Hello, welcome along to our bulletin for Sportsbet TV. Here, looking ahead to the action coming up on Saturday, the 14th of January, where there's going to be plenty of rain about, and soft ground is going to be very much the order of the day at most tracks. I'm pleased to say I'm offering you two selections this week for you to consider. If you're new to the service, please press the button just below to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll be able to consider my views along with any others that you choose to take into account. Of course, over the last year or two, I've showed consistent profits over seasons and over the calendar years, and I am continuing to look at decent prices each way. Just giving you the one selection last weekend, and indeed there haven't been that many selections offered over the last month or two. I know a few of you picked up on that, and that does mean that there are less darts to fire at the target. And on this occasion, Prime Venture wasn't up to the task. He was well backed, but I'm afraid that wasn't reflected in his performance. So unfortunately, he let us down. I'm hoping for better with two selections this week, one at Kempton and one over in Ireland at Fairyhouse. I'll take you first to Kempton for the 130, which is a competitive 3-mile handicap chase. It is soft ground and it's going to be pretty testing, given all the rain that there has been in the London and the South area over the last few days. Now, Ansem is amongst those horses that is going to be prominent in the betting here for Evan Williams. He ran a really good race last time out to be sixth in the Hennessy behind the Milosh, of course now known as the Coral handicap chase at Newbury at the end of November. He's a horse who probably wouldn't want it bottomless. So if the rain continues, it wouldn't help his chance, I don't think. But he's smart at 3 miles on his day. He won a listed handicap chase last term at Ascot, but he didn't run particularly well at Kempton in last year's big 3-mile handicap chase at the February meeting. So that also is a little bit of a question mark about Ansam, for me anyway. Now, Enrillo will bid to continue what's been a marvellous run of form for Paul Nicholls. Very often his horses, after the new year and before Cheltenham, are vaccinated, and some of them do tend to run below par following their vaccination. But there was no signs of that over the last weekend, where his horses were carrying all before them, and indeed earlier this week. Now, Enrillo is a horse who we all know is talented, but he's accident prone. And he fell at the 13th, the Badger Beers handicap chase at Wincanton on his reappearance in November. But he was fourth in the course and distance in the old Coral chase, the old Racing Post chase last February. And he does stay well. And he's having his second run back after a breathing operation. It wouldn't surprise to see him do better this time, but he still is £5 in the ratings above his last winning mark, which is a slight worry for me. While Danny Kerwin, who's also trained by Paul Nicholls, now this one is an interesting horse, runner-up twice in his last two starts. The first of those was back in May. The most recent was at Ascot in October in a Grade 3 handicap chase. He's only gone up £3, and I think of the two Nicholls runners, he'd probably be the one I'd be most concerned about. But moving on to the rest, there are two horses that I've mentioned for my followers on different channels in recent weeks. They're both well to be placed. One, Smarty Wild, who I tipped up at out in front, and he ran third at 20-1 for the Philip Hobbs stable behind Remastered over the course and distance at Christmas. And he's off the same mark, but it's just my feeling now that Smarty Wild might just be in the grip of the handicapper. And I probably wouldn't be recommending him until he's eased a few pounds, but he won't be far away. He keeps knocking on the door. The other horse that I've mentioned in the not too recent past is Percussion, who ran well for us here for Laura Morgan in the Beecher chase when he was third at Aintree. And he runs off the same mark as well, and I don't think he'll be at all far away. Now, one horse here that I very nearly tipped, but the market is just has found him, and I don't think he's a value anymore, is Tile Tapper. Tile Tapper for Chris Honor and Brian Carver. He ran really well last time out, stepped up to 3 miles for the first time, went second in that race, over course and distance, won by Remastered. Now, I wasn't convinced going into that he would stay the 3 miles, but he came home really well. And I'll tell you what as well, they must be absolutely certain this is his trip 3 miles plus going forward, because he was entered for the classic chase at Warwick that also is going to take place on Saturday, but they've chosen to stick with the bare 3 miles at the moment. He's a horse who also loves testing ground, and I can see why they've got him in as favourite. But he was one of 2 horses for me in the race that I put on my shortlist at the 5-day declaration stage. And the other one is the one that on value I'm going to go for, because the value appears at this point to have gone about Tile Tapper, and that is Belargus. He is my selection because he still remains the value despite money having come in for him. He's trained by Nick Gifford and is the mount of Niall Houlihan. His last winning mark was 130, and that's the mark to which he's now come down to for this race. That win, by the way, was at Sandown in April of 2021 when he took a 2.5-mile novices handicap chase. And he's only had 4 runs since. He's been fairly lightly raced. Wasn't disgraced at the Cheltenham Festival, where he didn't get home over the 3 miles won in the Ultima handicap chase, having raced on the heels of the leaders turning into the straight and just faded going to the last. And that, I think, was just down to him not getting home over the trip, and indeed particularly on the steep uphill finish. And then after 8 months off, he's returned this season, probably needing the run at Ascot. Quite tenderly handled, I thought. You can take a look at the videos yourself and have a look at this run 8 months ago. He ended up coming 6th of the 13 runners to Your Darling. Having looked as if he was going to fall out of the back of the telly, he actually stayed on quite well in the closing stages without ever being knocked about. So I think that stepping up from that 2 miles 5 and with the fitness on his side now, he's got every chance of running really well. I'd also point out to you that Nick Gifford, who doesn't have masses of winners, he actually won this race, this very race, 2019 with Glen Rocco. So he does know the kind of horse that's required to win this event. I've written here that he's got a sporting chance. And when I made my notes yesterday for this race, there was still 33-1 available in places early on about Belargus. That went to 25s and 20s. When I went out this morning, there were still 20s available. I've come back after a bit of a drive out this early afternoon, come back to find that Belargus has been very well backed, but 16-1 is still available with Bet365, and that is still for 3 places. So I hope you're able to get on that when you see this video. Some of the firms clearly have been taking chunks for him, because he's down to 10-1 with William Hill and also with Unibet. Quite a few others are only 11s. And remember, this horse was 33 in places on Thursday afternoon. So there has been some good support for Belargus. That's encouraging. And I think he still is overpriced at 16-1, especially with those 3 places. So my first choice for Saturday is Belargus at Kempton in the 130. Now, as you know, I've started my premium tipping service over at Out in Front starting in October. And of course, we're building up there towards what's going to be very exciting times as we move through January and on through February, and all the trials for the big festival at Cheltenham in March, and then the start of the flat. And otherwise, if you want to get involved, then do take a listen to this advice, which is how to sign up for the Out in Front service. Hello, I'm Paul Alster. Since July 2020, my followers have enjoyed some really great success here with my regular Saturday and festival tips here at Sportsbet TV. Well, now I'm offering an enhanced tipping service called Out in Front, aiming for plenty of big odds selections on far more racing days. So to continue receiving my profitable and enjoyable each way and often long odds racing selections, sign up now on Patreon for my low-cost, brand new live tipping service where you can interact with me and ask questions and comment in real time. So signing up to Out in Front only takes 2 minutes. First, choose a membership, then sign up, add a payment method, and then you'll get all the benefits of being an Out in Front member. I can't wait to see you, so sign up to the new Out in Front real-time tipping service with me, Paul Alster. Okay, well, I'm going to take you to my second free selection here at Sportsbet for Saturday, and I cross the water to Ireland and Fairyhouse, where the 2:12 race is a really good handicap chase, Grade A over 2 miles 1 furlong. I'm sure we're going to see plenty of these runners at the Dublin Festival, probably at the Cheltenham and Punchestown festivals as well in handicap company. The going is soft to heavy, so very, very testing at Fairyhouse. And the horse who is just about showing as a favourite here, pretty clear favourite, really, 9-4 best at the time of this recording on Friday, just after 4 o'clock British time, is Cade Boy, who's trained by Liz Doyle and owned by JP McManus, hasn't won over fences, which is a negative, of course, but has run well indeed over course and distance, run well. Last time out to be fourth in a race won by Silver Class, who reopposes and is off the same mark. Now, Silver Class's form is tied into a number of horses here. Silver Class, trained by Tony Martin, did pull up at Leopardstown last time out off his revised mark, and that rather puts you off him, I think. He does have more to do here. Now, Willie Mullins has a horse called Mount Leinster, who was third in that race behind Silver Class on his reappearance. He's only gone up a pound. Willie Mullins, of course, with a great record and still firing in the winners all over the place. But I just fear for this horse on what is expected to be very testing ground. Now, Thunder Blues is another horse for Willie. This one won at Ballinrobe Court before finishing 8th in the race behind Silver Class last time out of this mark. But he will light the ground. Thunder Blues around a 10-1 shot, where Mount Leinster 5-1 best. So they're obviously maybe feeling he will handle the ground. I've got reservations about that. Robert Tyner has a horse called Big Debates, who's on a hat-trick after he won at Cork in November and then at Fairyhouse over the 2-mile trip just before Christmas. And he's gone up a total of £16, over a stone, but clearly is in fine form. And maybe they haven't quite got to the bottom of him. He's around a 9-1 chance best price. And I wouldn't rule out him running well again, despite going up in the weights. And then Rebel Gold, a horse that I have tipped recently when he was second for Paddy Foley at Limerick over 2.5 miles. He was also in that race behind Silver Class. And for him, there can't be enough rain. He likes it knee deep, almost, this horse. So any money for Rebel Gold, who at the moment hasn't really been attracting any market support at 16-1. But if the money comes in, you might want to think about a covering bet maybe on him. But for me, the horse that stands out here is Dunvegan, who's trained by Peter Fahey and is the mount of Michael O'Sullivan, who of course is the son of trainer Eugene O'Sullivan and is a really talented young rider. Peter Fahey, the trainer, by the way, also has Castlegrave's Paddy in this race, who I think is possibly on the downgrade, but he certainly has been given a chance by the handicapper, but he hasn't been running to his old form. Dunvegan, though, well, he just loves Fairyhouse, full stop. He won a maiden hurdle here in 2018. Then last term he won over the course and distance off 139. And then he won this race last year off 146 in soft ground, stormed away by over 3 lengths. And they then ended the season by finishing second in a Grade 1, the Dublin Chase at Leopardstown at Fairyhouse behind Chacun Pour Soi. That is really fabulous form. Okay, he was 12 lengths behind, but he was up against a real top-notcher. Now, he was off for 9 months, and then he ran on the flat at Naas in their November handicap, where the ground probably wasn't soft enough for him, and he probably needed it. But then they really took a chance with him, and they sent him across to Sandown Park to run in the Tingle Creek Chase, which is Grade 1, of course. He finished behind Edward Stone, finishing 5th. Now, he wasn't disgraced and actually was keeping on. The ground was only good ground there, which would have been plenty quick enough for Dunvegan. And I think now everything's come right for him. Okay, he's got a big weight and he's 12 pounds higher than last year, but he's 3 out of 3 at Fairyhouse. He's never tasted defeat at this track. He's dropped in grade from the Grade 1 Tingle Creek to this really good handicap, and the ground is absolutely perfect for him. It'll be the weight that beats him, nothing else. And I think he's sure to be in there with a massive shout. And I do think that the odds available at the moment, 10-1 available each way, with Coral for 4 places being the best offer, is a really sporting each way shout for Dunvegan over at Fairyhouse in the 212. So that's the second of my free selections for you at Sportsbet on Saturday. I hope you enjoy your racing. I hope you have a few winners. Hopefully these will contribute. And I'll be back same time next week with more of the same. So for now, from me, Paul Alster, take care and good luck this weekend.